We live in a culture that glorifies productivity and pathologizes pause. So when something disrupts our sleep, especially in those still, sacred early morning hours, our default reaction is to treat it like a malfunction. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just sleep through the night like everyone else? But here's the truth we so often overlook. Waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. isn't a flaw in your system. It's a flare, a signal, a subtle but powerful form of communication from the parts of you that don't get airtime during the noise of the day. This isn't about a bad mattress, poor sleep hygiene, or too much caffeine. This is your inner life speaking up. And not with chaos, but with invitation. It's your emotional body, your spiritual intuition, or even your subconscious mind trying to deliver a message you've been too busy, too tired, or too distracted to receive at 3 p.m. So it arrives at 3 a.m. instead. These wake-ups are not random. They are often timed with a very specific shift in your physiology. When your liver and lungs go through their natural detox cycle, when cortisol levels begin to rise slightly in preparation for morning, when your energy body, for those who sense it, starts its recalibration. But more than biology, this window often opens when you're carrying things you haven't unpacked, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Sometimes it's unprocessed grief. Sometimes it's quiet, unspoken resentment. Sometimes it's the weight of living out of alignment with your values. Sometimes it's the anxiety of being stretched too thin, chasing too many things, or saying yes when your soul is screaming no. But the point is this: your body is not betraying you, it's alerting you. Not to panic, but to pay attention. You're not broken. You're being asked to listen. These early hours, they hold a kind of raw honesty that daytime filters out. When the world is asleep and your ego's defenses are down, what's left is the truth. And that truth can be uncomfortable, but it's also deeply healing. So next time you wake up, instead of reaching for blame or your phone, try reaching inward. Not to fix anything, but to witness what's rising. There's nothing wrong with you for waking up. In fact, it might be the most honest moment of your entire day. We spend so much of our lives up in our heads, navigating plans, calendars, deadlines, conversations, expectations. We analyze, strategize, intellectualize. Our minds are incredible tools, but they are also skilled at one thing in particular: avoidance disguised as control. We convince ourselves that if we just think it through one more time, plan a little better, stay a little busier, we can outrun discomfort, outthink uncertainty, outperform pain. But the body doesn't play by those rules. The body doesn't lie. While your mind is moving at 100 miles an hour trying to figure things out, your body is quietly keeping the score. It carries every moment you push through instead of slowing down. It remembers every emotion you swallowed, every boundary you ignored, every time you said, "I'm fine," when you weren't. And in the quiet of 3 to 5 a.m., when your thinking mind softens and your defenses lower, your body finally gets a word in. But it doesn't shout. It whispers. A racing heart, a shallow breath, a clenched jaw, a tight chest, a pit in your stomach. These aren't just physical sensations. They are messages. They are your body saying, something isn't right, something needs your attention. I've been trying to tell you. Your body is the truth teller you can't mute with logic. That restlessness at 4:12 a.m., maybe it's not insomnia. Maybe it's unresolved sadness or the grief you've been too brave to name. That tension in your back, maybe it's not just bad posture. Maybe it's the weight of responsibility you never asked to carry. That flutter in your chest when you wake suddenly, maybe it's not just a bad dream, it could be the anxiety you packed away all day so you could look functional. Your mind may ignore it, but your body never forgets, and it doesn't need you to analyze it. It needs you to acknowledge it. When we learn to listen, to really listen to our body's whispers, we begin the process of healing, not just physically, but emotionally, even spiritually. Because the body often tells the truth before the mind is ready to admit it. So the next time you wake up in the still of the night, don't rush to label it as a problem. Instead, try asking, what is my body trying to tell me? What have I been overriding that needs care? What truth am I avoiding in daylight that is begging to be seen in the dark? And when you stop ignoring those whispers, something beautiful happens. The body stops needing to scream. And you begin to feel whole, not because everything is fixed, but because everything is finally heard. Stillness in the early hours reveals suppressed fear, shame, or inner unrest. There's a particular kind of silence that only exists between 3 and 5 in the morning. The world hasn't woken up yet. The emails have stopped. The traffic is quiet. The house is still. It's the hour when even the distractions go to sleep. And in that stillness, what's left is you. Not the version of you who answers on cue, not the one who smiles politely, performs confidently, or powers through the chaos. Not the curated self. Just you. And when everything else goes quiet, the things we've been avoiding get loud. This is often why waking up in those early hours doesn't just feel inconvenient, it can feel confronting. Because when the noise dies down, what rises up are the parts of ourselves we've kept hidden or buried. The fear we silenced during the day, the shame we dressed up with productivity, the grief that had no place in our schedule, the anxiety we numbed with scrolling, snacking, or staying busy. Stillness has a way of surfacing what we thought we buried well enough to forget. But what if that's not a problem? What if it's an opportunity? See, those early hours don't invent your unrest, they reveal it. And as uncomfortable as that is, it's also a gift. Because what's revealed can be tended to. What's named can be healed. And what felt can finally be released. We often believe that healing only happens in therapy sessions or self-help books. And sometimes healing happens when you sit at the edge of your bed at 4:23 a.m., breathing through the ache in your chest and whispering to yourself, I see you, I'm here, we're okay. Stillness can be unsettling, yes, but it's also sacred. It's the moment your soul stops competing with your schedule. It's the crack in your day where truth gets to pour in. So the next time you find yourself staring at the ceiling in the dark, instead of rushing to fix it or fill the silence, try this. Be still. Let the fear surface. Let the shame speak. Let the unrest breathe. Not to indulge it, but to understand it. Because beneath every restless awakening is a part of you saying, I'm not here to haunt you, I'm here to heal you. Stillness is not empty, it's honest. And sometimes that's exactly what we need most. We talk a lot about self-care these days, spa days, digital detoxes, getting more sleep. And yes, those things matter. But let's not confuse comfort with care. Care, especially the kind that your nervous system needs, is not always soft or Instagrammable. It's often quiet, unseen, uncelebrated. It looks like choosing to exhale when your body wants to clench. It looks like holding yourself with kindness when your thoughts are spiraling. It looks like tending, not fixing, not ignoring, but tending to the hidden systems that carry you every single day. Because your nervous system isn't a luxury, it's your foundation. It governs how you respond to stress, how you sleep, how you connect with others, and how safe you feel in your own skin. And the truth is, most of us are walking around in a state of low-grade survival. We're not exactly in crisis, but we're not okay either. We're over-caffeinated, under rest, emotionally overstimulated, and spiritually undernourished. And then we wonder why we wake up at 3:47 a.m. with our hearts pounding or our minds racing. It's not just insomnia. It's your nervous system waving a flag. It's saying, please slow down. Please help me feel safe again. Tending to your nervous system means becoming aware of what overwhelms you and what grounds you. It means creating rituals of regulation, not just productivity. It means asking every day, what do I need to feel safe? Not perfect, not impressive, just safe. This could look like breath work, not because it's trendy, but because your breath is your most immediate access to safety. Gentle movement, not to burn calories, but to remind your body it's alive and free. Placing your hand on your chest and saying, I'm here, I've got you. Turning off screens, because your brain was not built for a flood of information at midnight. Reconnecting to nature, because trees don't rush and rivers don't panic. Here's the truth, most of us weren't taught. You don't have to earn regulation. You don't have to prove you're worthy of rest. You don't need to collapse before you're allowed to reset. Your nervous system isn't asking for perfection. It's asking for presence. It doesn't need grand gestures. It needs consistent care. And if you're waking up night after night in those early hours, it could be your nervous system's way of saying, I've been holding so much for so long. I need you to notice me. So notice it. Tend to it. Speak to it with softness. There's something uniquely disorienting about being jolted awake in the still hours of the night. Your heart might be racing, your thoughts tangled, your body restless. And while your first instinct might be to push it all down, turn on a screen, scroll until you're numb, distract yourself into exhaustion, there's another option. Pick up a pen. Not because you need to write something profound, not because you're crafting a journal entry worthy of being read by others, but because your inner world is trying to speak, and writing gives it a voice. See, when you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., you're not just dealing with sleep disruption. You're often dealing with emotional overflow. Your subconscious, unguarded and raw in the quiet of the night, is rising to the surface with all the things you haven't had time or courage to face in the light. Writing isn't about solving it, it's about seeing it. It's about translating the vague ache in your chest into something you can name. And once you name it, you can begin to hold it with compassion rather than fear. When you write down what's keeping you up, you give form to what feels formless. You take the swirling storm inside you and anchor it to paper. You move from spinning in your thoughts to processing them. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be linear. You can write one word, a sentence, a list, a prayer, a question. Here are a few simple prompts you can try in those early hours. What am I feeling right now without judgment? What thought or fear just woke me up? What needs my attention that I've been avoiding? What do I wish someone would say to me? What truth do I need to tell myself tonight? This is not about control, it's about connection. Writing doesn't silence the noise overnight, but it gives it a container. It says, here, you can belong here. You're allowed to be seen, even if you're messy, confusing, or painful. And what happens next is subtle but powerful. Your breath slows down. Your shoulders lowered. Your inner critic gets quieter. Your shame starts to dissolve. And your body, finally feeling heard, begins to soften into rest again. Sometimes healing doesn't look like a breakthrough. Sometimes it looks like a crumpled notebook page at 417 IUM, scribbled with half thoughts and heartaches. But that act of writing instead of repressing, of noticing instead of numbing, is one of the most powerful tools we have, because when we write, we release. When we name, we reclaim. And when we get honest on the page, we get free in the body. So the next time you wake up with that familiar weight in your chest, don't run from it. Meet it with a pen, because clarity isn't always found in thought. Sometimes it's born in ink. And here's the truth we've been circling all along. Waking between 3 and 5 a.m. isn't just an inconvenience, it's an invitation not to do more, not to optimize your routine or add another self-help task to your already heavy plate, but to return to yourself. In those quiet hours, you don't need another productivity hack. You need honesty. You need stillness. You need to ask yourself, am I living in alignment with what matters most to me? That's what this window is. It's a portal, a narrow, sacred opening that bypasses your polished surface and lands you in the raw truth of your inner life. You get to ask, what do I truly care about right now? What am I compromising that I no longer want to? What parts of me have I abandoned in the name of being fine? And the answers that rise may not be clean or convenient, but they'll be real. And real is where freedom begins. So don't rush to fill this moment with tasks or timelines. Don't turn on your phone and check your calendar. Check your heart instead. This is not the hour to rehearse your overwhelm. It's the hour to remember who you are. Because the world will always try to convince you that your worth is in your output. But these early morning wake-ups, they know better. They know your worth lives in your presence, your values, your willingness to listen inward. So here's your quiet permission slip. If you wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., don't panic. You're not broken. You're being invited. Sit with the discomfort. Write what you feel. Breathe into your nervous system. And above all, return to the truth of you, the you that's been patiently waiting beneath the noise. In a world that keeps telling you to be more, do more, and prove more, this window is a sacred rebellion. A reminder that the most important connection you'll ever make is not to your to-do list, but to yourself. You're not broken. You're not being punished. You're being called inward. This isn't about sleep disruption. It's about soul disruption. It's your body whispering what your mind has been too busy to hear. It's your nervous system asking to be held instead of ignored. It's fear, shame, grief surfacing not to haunt you, but to heal you. It's a quiet voice saying, there's more to you than what you've been surviving. In a world that measures worth by output, this wake up is a sacred interruption. Not to get more done, but to feel more alive. To check in, not with your schedule, but with your soul. To stop managing your symptoms and start tending to your truth. These early hours are not the enemy. They are the soft, sacred hours where clarity begins, where regulation is restored, and where the truest parts of you have a chance to be seen, not by the world, but by you. So the next time your eyes open before the sun rises, take a breath, be still, listen, and ask not, how do I fall back asleep? But rather, what part of me is ready to wake up? Because maybe this isn't a sleep problem. Maybe this is a soul awakening. And maybe, just maybe, it's right on time.